I have always wanted to do this trip. 6,500 kilometers of railway from Moscow in Russia to Ulaanbaatar in the Gobi Desert in Mongolia.
Yes, this is the big red square.
The Romanovs, they were canonized by the Russian Orthodox Church, so now they are saints.
This is the Trans-Mongolian route, beautiful scenery and great travel mates.
Oh, yeah!
They're jumping from one bed to another, so...
Moscow is the starting point of our journey. This megacity has become extraordinarily popular for travelers, not only for the history of the Soviet Union, but also for the railway that crosses Siberia from Moscow to Ulaanbaatar. In the next minutes, I'm gonna share my experience after 4 weeks of travel by train, from Russia to Mongolia. Here we go!
Sunny day in Moscow like any other one, but there's a difference. This is our first day in this journey. Third time here, but it never ceases to amaze me. The city is becoming more popular, more visitors, more tourists. It's amazing.
The Kremlin is another highlight of Moscow that you cannot miss. Located between the Red Square and the Moscow River, it is fully loaded of symbolic meaning. The Moscow Kremlin includes 5 palaces and 4 cathedrals, and it is still one of the strongest symbols of the former Soviet Union. Although the word Kremlin means fortress inside a city, it is commonly used to refer to the government of the Russian Federation.
We are starting an adventure of 27 days. 27 days of adventure with my kids. It's gonna be, I think it's gonna be tough, but it's gonna be also thrilling. You think we're gonna survive?
Yes.
Yeah, we will survive for sure. So we have been waiting already for 1 hour to see Lenny's mommy. There's very little you can do about that. Just wait.
So be patient and wait, because everything in Moscow is worth the time you need to see it. Not many visitors pay enough attention to what, in my opinion, is one of the beauties of this city, the Moscow River and the uncountable bridges over it. We booked a cruise along the river to enjoy the sightseeing from a unique angle. The boat offers the possibility to see things that are very difficult to see otherwise. The Moscow metro is definitely worth to be mentioned. It is a huge network of almost 400 kilometers and more than 250 stations, some of them really a masterpiece. The deepest one is located at Park Poveri, 84 meters underground, with an impressive escalator. In a city like Moscow, you must choose strategically what to see and what to do. And please be aware that sometimes Moscow is not the friendliest city in the world.
2 days walking and we haven't seen any supermarket yet.
A strong recommendation is Arbat Street, one of the few pedestrian areas located in the historic center of Moscow. A reference point in Arbat Street is the Tsoi Wall, a graffiti wall dedicated to musician Viktor Tsoi. It is time to take a break and relax a little bit, and nothing better for that than strolling around Gorky Park, also known as Park Kulturi. This is Moscow Central Park for culture and leisure.
Very much in line with the rest of the country, parks in Russia are huge. The parks in Moscow, in Russia in general, are so different. There are so many things to do. So, for example, there are many weddings. Yeah, people get married, come here to the parks to walk around, to take some pictures. There are many different activities you can do in a park. You can do sports, you can drive a car, you can drink, you can dance, you can do exercise. In this regard, parks in Moscow are so funny and there's always so many things to do. So yeah, you never get bored in a park in Moscow.
The daylight comes to an end in Moscow, and so does our time in this city. We must pack up and get ready for departure. Tomorrow we will take a train to Kazan, our next destination in this route.
Only to say goodbye. Yes. Okay. You don't travel?
No.
Okay.
My mother is studies in Kazan.
Ah.
And
you study?
Family in Tatarstan.
Ah, Tatarstan, yeah.
We arrive in Kazan, the capital of the Tatarstan, a city with more than 1,000 years of history. First thing we did in the morning is the same thing we did in Moscow, a visit to the Kremlin, declared a World Heritage Site in 2000, by the way. Among the different buildings that it contains, I highlight the Kur Sharif Mosque, impressively beautiful. You can judge by yourself.
Обязательно подойдем к башне Синдики и выходим через Тайницкую башню, хорошо?
The main pedestrian area is located on Baumana Street, in the heart of Kazan. The number of monuments along the streets are uncountable, although in my view what I will always remember is the street life itself.
Definitely we are not in the big capital anymore. It's a big change of context. It has nothing to do with Moscow. It's Kazan, Sunday evening. The main differences between Moscow and Kazan, okay, lower pace, less traffic, and apart from that you can feel the art on the street.
Kazan is a monumental city, no doubt about that, but it is also a city with a very special relation with water. The Volga River and the different lakes along the city give Kazan the aspect of a place for vacation and relax, something that you don't expect in the middle of Russia.
Vale, aquí estamos, vamos a salir afuera y voy a meter por dentro el agua. ¡Uy! Salimos, güey.
No te comas mi bolsa.
This place is a crossroad of Orthodox and Islam cultures, as can be appreciated while walking the city. And personally, when you come from a Western country like me, this genuine diversity is very refreshing. The sunset offers fantastic scenery in the surroundings of the Volga River. The colors at this time of the evening are simply stunning, perfect to finish the day in the lounge located by the river. The city offers a great variety of different vibes, all of them equally pleasant. To be honest, Kazan was a great discovery for me, possibly the most welcoming city in the entire journey.
Ticket says this is second class, but it feels very much like fourth. Okay, so this is our carriage. Yeah? Vodka. That's very nice. That's very nice. We can share later.
Por supuesto.
To collect because another picture in the corner.
Yeah. Different pictures in the
Here it's a woman, I think.
This is not
from
from
Eurostar.
Spain. This is, I think, it's from France or Italy.
Es que quiero comprar, que son 3.000 y pico euros la taza. 3.000 y pico,
40 euros.
40 euros, que es como muy...
Fine idea. It's a long walk from Baikal 13 to this place.
We arrive in Ekaterinburg after 6 days of traveling. Located at the Asian side of the boundary between Asia and Europe, Ekaterinburg is a mining capital and the fourth largest city of Russia with a population of 1.5 million. Needless to say that the city has always been a strategic connection between Europe and Asia and a key city to Siberia.
Okay, this is the city where the last Tsar, Nicholas II, and his entire family were assassinated in 1918, if I remember well. And with this, the Russians put an end to a whole dynasty and started a brand new era, the era of the Soviet Union.
Ekaterinburg exhibits a great number of impressive Orthodox churches, being the queen among the queens, the church of all saints. It was built with the intention of serving as a memorial complex dedicated to the Romanov family. Another important element in this city is the green areas. There is an enormous park along the river and the canal that provides an open space for getting away from the urban rhythm. In this peaceful environment, the protagonists are the persons in the short distance.
The Ural Mountains, they form not only the geographical center of the continent, but it's also a botanical border here, because the nature of the eastern slope of the Urals and of Siberia is very different from what you can see in Europe. So different types of forest, first of all, and soon in the woods, yeah, you will see our forest. This is already a taiga type of forest.
And they take pictures here.
They take pictures, they drink champagne over there, they also take photos with the
Okay.
forest. We can walk through the forest.
All right, let's go.
There is a crystal mine near here, and such minerals are mined in this area. And the memorable sign for Vasily Tatishev, the city founder, who marked the border of Europe and Asia.
Spain.
Puso cumpleaños.
Okay, you can. You don't have to clean the coffee. But if you like, you can. Just a tradition.
Oh, chocolate.
Yes.
The Romanovs, they were canonized by the Russian Orthodox Church, so now they are saints. It's a copy of Russian Orthodox Church built in in Harbin, in northern China, in Harbin. After the civil war in Russia, because after the revolution there was a civil war for 2 years, the Red Army and the White Army. And when the White Army lost the war, the Red Army, the Bolsheviks won it finally, the white officers, many immigrated to China. And there was a large population of the Russians living in Harbin. The father of Nikolai died. Alexander III, the Tsar, died, and the country was mourning for a month. And of course it was like a funeral month, and it wasn't good to have a wedding during this time. So the wedding had to be postponed. But the young couple, they wanted so much to be together finally that they decided to have it anyway, just to have a wedding in November. And it was the first time when Russian people started saying, this is a bad sign, it's a very tough luck, and it's a doomed couple. And Alexandra, she wrote in her diary that she felt like a funeral bride. When she came to Russia, she was wearing a black funeral dress. She changed it for one day, for the wedding day, and again she had to put on that funeral dress.
Back in the city, we enjoy our last hours in Ekaterinburg and get ready for moving east towards the next destination in the Asian part of Russia. Siberia is waiting for us. Here we go. Novosibirsk is a classical station of the Trans-Siberian route. In our case, we decided not to spend any nights here, just a few hours, given the limitation of time and trains. That was really brief indeed, but sometimes you have to make tough decisions when you plan on a tighter schedule. In any case, I had the sensation that the city is a bit more industrial than other cities that we have visited before. Just a sensation. And now it's time to continue our journey. One of the oldest towns in Siberia with 500,000 inhabitants. This is Tomsk, our next destination in this journey.
I really had no idea what I would find here in Tomsk. It seems it's much more pleasant than expected. Okay, it's different from other cities. People are not so well off. But it's very recommendable to visit.
You can enjoy the masterpieces of wooden architecture while walking through the streets of Tomsk. The wooden houses and palaces reflect the aristocratic past of this Siberian region. This is no doubt the most remarkable highlight of this city.
I look like a stupid when I am shooting my footage with the gimbal, but people don't understand. It has to be done this way, believe me.
This is the typical city, quiet and cozy, that you always remember with a warm feeling when you look back in time. I wish we had had more time for further exploration. We continue traveling east. This time, our target is Irkutsk, a beautiful city in the vicinity of Lake Baikal. Irkutsk is the largest city in the east of Siberia with more than 600,000 inhabitants. As in any other Russian city, distances are very long and transportation is an issue to be considered. We started our tour by visiting the Ship Museum located at the Angara River, a good representative of the recent history of the city.
Drivers in Russia who speak English.
I'm not a driver.
You're a teacher. A teacher of what?
Of the theater.
Which subject?
Theater.
Oh, theater.
Yeah.
Wow.
One of the iconic images of Irkutsk is the Church of Our Lady of Kazan. Built in Byzantine style, this Orthodox church contains an immense variety of colors that will immerse you in the spiritual ambient that only a religious temple can offer. For a few minutes, you will enjoy tranquility and calm in this masterpiece of art. We are in Kusir, a small village in Olkhon Island in the middle of Lake Baikal. At first sight, the place looks totally quiet, perfect for vacations. The activities of the locals also look very, very quiet and relaxed. Very few people around, by the way. I think I'm gonna enjoy this place. The most impressive part of this island, and what I enjoy the most, personally, is the beautiful sand beach by the lake.
This is totally amazing. It looks like a real beach, but it's a lake.
My first feeling will be a little bit cold. Of course, it's hard to swim long time, especially with this wind. But when you go out, you feel like
Alright,
really
I will be
warm.
happy if I am able to get in, stay 5 or 10 seconds and then out.
We start an evening excursion to visit the Shamanka Rock outside the village, a sacred place for the Aboriginal population.
Близлежащие территории. Вот поселок Байтак закушали, после него дорога резко пошла вверх в предгорье Приморского хребта. Сейчас всего на острове в 8 населенных пунктах меньше 2000.
I can't deny that this is a place for inspiration. There is something special in the ambient that attracts your attention and makes you fix your gaze in the horizon. I guess this has something to do with the religiosity floating in the air. The island has beautiful scenery to discover. An excellent way to do it is by boat in order to enjoy the sight of the impressive cliffs.
And then you cross very beautiful cliffs, three brother cliffs, and called also white rock because of the color.
5 часов.
5 hours.
Да, 5.
Nereida is a Greek name, Greek from Greece.
The ride is simply spectacular. The sight of the cliffs from the boat is fantastic, and the rocks exhibit amazing colors. The temperature is a bit low considering that we are in the middle of August, but it doesn't spoil the great journey that we are enjoying today. It's time to stretch our legs a little bit. This part of the island is more sandy and appropriate for picnics and walking. This is a quiet venue to enjoy a few days of holidays and relax. Lake Baikal is kind of a mythical place for many people. Now I can say that I understand much better why.
Okay. Mikhail. Evgeny. Okay.
These are our last hours in Lake Baikal, and yeah, definitely I enjoyed it. This is the southeast corner of Russia, very close to the border with Mongolia. This is Ulan-Ude. Today it's Sunday, a perfect day for celebrations of all types.
I don't know what happens, but everybody's getting married in Ulan-Ude today.
The first thing I can say about Ulan-Ude is that it is a monumental city, no doubt about that. The architecture and monuments are quite Soviet, I would say, but impressive and beautiful, surprising for a city located at the border with Mongolia.
Sí, yo creo que es el de antes.
Ulan-Ude is the capital of the Republic of Buryatia. For many years, access to the city was prohibited to foreigners. We had to wait until 1991 to see Ulan-Ude open to foreign visitors. Honestly, we are lucky to be allowed to visit this wonder. One of the main attractions in Ulan-Ude is the Orthodox Cathedral. It was the first stone building in the city, a great example of Siberian Baroque architecture. Ulan-Ude is the last Russian city in our route. We walk back slowly to our hotel, enjoying our last hours in Siberia.
Aquí ya se ve más extranjeros, ¿eh?
This man is all tourists.
Yeah, all trains. We think most of the people were Russian.
See you in Ulaanbaatar. You wait for us.
Eventually, we crossed the border and finished our Russian adventure. This is Ulaanbaatar, the capital of Mongolia. The city welcomes visitors with magnificent buildings, immense open spaces and refined architecture. This is in line with the glorious and military past of this country. Ulaanbaatar is a very crowded place, a city with almost 2 million inhabitants, which is equivalent to 50% of the entire population of Mongolia. By the way, the original meaning of Ulaanbaatar is Red Hero, quite an epic name. We visit the highest point in Ulaanbaatar, the Kazan Memorial located in the southern part of the city. Visitors must make a climb of 300 steps before reaching the monument and mural.
Yeah.
Those who make the climb are rewarded with a panoramic view of the entire city of Ulaanbaatar in the valley below. The Kazan Memorial is a popular meeting point for school outings and graduation festivities, but also for tourists. Ulaanbaatar has a number of impressive and historical temples, well in line with the Buddhist tradition of Mongolia. The Gandantegchinlen Monastery is without any doubt one of the main attractions in the city. It contains several temples of Buddhist style. The entire complex was restored and revitalized in the 1990s. At present, it serves as the headquarters for Tibetan Buddhist monks. The Tibetan name of the monastery translates to the Great Place of Complete Joy. Very appropriate. Just 54 kilometers east of Ulaanbaatar, the Genghis Khan statue complex was built on the place where, according to the legend, the big Genghis Khan found a golden whip. The Genghis Khan equestrian statue is the main attraction of the complex. Located on top of a hill, it dominates the vast area of land that resembles the domain of the Great Khan.
Hello guys, how are you?
Our next stop is the Ariyabal Buddhist Meditation Temple. Located on a steep hill, the long walking path that leads to the temple was also designed as a path for walking meditation and reflection.
People accept Buddhism, we learn it. But not much influence, not much they do. Only like noblemen know some Buddhism. But later on, 16th century, more. Because politically, the Manchu tried to use a religion to control Mongolia.
Buddhism.
Buddhism.
The path is marked with Buddhist sayings that reflect the teachings of this religion. The temple itself is reachable after uncountable steps. The interior is decorated with paintings and stories of famous Buddhist masters. Gorkhi-Terelj is one of the national parks of Mongolia. Most of the park is undeveloped and difficult to access. However, the small southern portion of the park is developed for tourists, with restaurants, souvenir shops, tourist Ger camps and horses for rent. And precisely, we didn't miss the opportunity to enjoy a wonderful time riding the amazing Mongolian horses.
This horse is called Chachala because Chachala is the superhero Black Panther, and this horse is black, so that's why he has that name.
The Turtle Rock is one of the amazing rock formations of this park. Climbing the rock to enjoy the view of the valley and make your way through narrow passages is a challenge for all visitors.
Is it burning? It's a river place. Yes, we made it.
Small. Yeah, horse is big, camel is big, and then the goat and the sheep are small.
The road from Ulaanbaatar to Karakorum offers a number of amenities that make the journey more pleasant.
Thank you.
This is a kind of entertainment area where you can have a walk along the dunes, enjoy the friendliness of the locals, and take some pictures with the majestic Mongolian camels. Karakorum was the capital of the Mongol Empire in the 13th century, at a time where the Mongols controlled most of the Eurasian continent. The ruins still preserve the impressive walls as well as several buildings that reflect the magnificence of the Mongol history.
Refused and then expressed that he wanted to build a temple and monastery in Mongolia, and then which is the best place. For kinds of different drinks. The one for honey, and then Mongolian drink arak, and also wine, and also the Mongol water. While reading the sutra, they mention your name for good.
The city was founded in the times of Genghis Khan and started to grow until reaching the size of a real capital. The limits of the former city are represented by stone turtles that can still be visited today.
11.
¿Y esta figura?
¿Eso prueba?
This is my new best friend. I don't know his name, but he's so nice.
Ay, qué mono. Oye, ¿te gusta que te acarician? Huele a leche de cabra. ¿Sabes? Como si estuvieran haciendo ahí algo con la leche de la cabra.
Pues toda nada pastelito de leche de cabra.
Pero es que había un cuenco como con bombones o algo así. Y luego algo que es una pasta así que yo creo que es lo que huele mal.
Pues de eso te van a dar 1 kilo.
Living in a Ger camp is a great experience, but you have to forget about the usual comforts and conveniences of your day-to-day life, of course.
Hello. Hello.
We arrived in the Gobi Desert by plane, and very quickly we dashed off to a Ger camp located 1 hour away from the city of Dalansagat. The camp is located in a region of smooth and green mountains that define the typical landscape of this desert. Far from being a dry region, the Gobi Desert looks quite fresh and green. Shortly after leaving our luggage in the camp, we start an excursion to visit a canyon located nearby, a great opportunity to be in contact with nature in this fantastic venue.
So the places that we're going to visit tomorrow is also a national park.
Also national park.
Back in the camp, the sunset is approaching, so it's a perfect time for an evening walk. Once again, I can't avoid fixing my gaze in the horizon to enjoy the stunning landscape in front of us. While walking in the mountains, I reflected on my day-to-day life and felt so privileged to have the opportunity of visiting a place like this. The next day, we experienced a strong feeling of loneliness. We didn't see any car on the way to the next camp, and apart from our guides, the only person that we met in the entire day was the manager of the Ger camp where we stayed overnight. A bit disappointing. The flaming cliffs provide an iconic image of the Gobi Desert. Even though the weather was unpleasant and rainy, and we couldn't see the cliffs reflecting the sun as in these images, we still enjoyed the sight of it and appreciated its natural beauty. Our last destination is the sand dunes of the Gobi Desert. We have been waiting for long to enjoy the final highlight of this trip. Different from other parts of the Gobi, this area is really dry and full of sand. It really looks like the typical desert that we all have in mind. The first thing to do is to get familiar with our new camp and our new neighbors.
Es una gufre.
Son buenísimos.
Okay, this is something I've always wanted to do. Jogging the Gobi.
We had this goat and her sister yesterday in our tent for 2-3 hours in our yurta. It was tremendous. They are so playful. They're jumping from one bed to another. So it was just 2 hours of joy.
Today? Next trip. And tomorrow to Baikal.
So after India, where are you going?
After India, Sri Lanka. After Sri Lanka, just 1 week in Brisbane in Australia. And after that, South America, Eastern Island in the back, below Pascua.
Yeah, Pascua.
Chile, Bolivia, Peru, I don't know exactly.
So nice. I will read it in your blog.
Yes, if you want.
It's time to climb the big dune and put an end to a wonderful adventure. 4 weeks of travel, 4 weeks of discovery, 2 countries, more than 7,000 kilometers, uncountable friends and landscapes, an experience that I recommend to anyone who is an adventurer in their heart.